Community Church, Unitarian Universalist. I'm your worship associate. I'm terrible with names and I've left this blank. So we'll go with Sally Jackson for today. And it's a joy to be with you today. Community Church is a progressive, open-minded, and inclusive religious community. We welcome all who are on a spiritual search for truth and meaning. Ours is a faith in action as we do the work of social justice and elevate compassion in our quest to live ethically, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every being. Please look to your weekly email for announcements. But we've got a few here first. We've got our endowment month, so we have Debbie.
Microphone.
Deborah.
What's the question? The microphone. This one?
Good morning. I'm Deborah Salvador, and I am a member of the Endowment Committee. Alongside Steve Rebecca's here today. Jolie Bonk is the chair of the committee, and Mara Powell is another member. And so during Endowment Month, we are going to talk to you a little bit about, I'll make a short announcement here. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the mechanics of the Endowment Fund. Basically, it grows in two ways. One way is through contributions, donations by people like you and me, and the other is through the growth on our investments that are handled through a professional investment company, the Stifel. So, and our guidelines for awarding grants from our endowment fund are that we are allowed to grant up to 4% of our net worth at September 30th of the year. And then in October and November, so we determine the amount, in October and November is when we're open for proposals. And those are proposals, we have covered projects both within our CCUU community as well as the broader community. We try to do a little for both. And proposals, of course, are due in October and November, so start thinking about ideas if you know of needs within or outside of the community. Am I not? Oh, you're testing the microphone. Oh, okay. All right. So I want to thank you all for those of you who support. Any way you want to donate, you can do it through the Sunday offering. You can do it through your regular offerings. You can do it by phone, all of the various ways to offer. Just make sure that you mark it for the endowment so that it goes specifically to the endowment fund. And so I thank you for your support of the endowment.
And now we're going to have a word from our president.
Good morning. Good morning. I just want to remind everyone, we put this in the newsletter, but on March 2nd, which is a Saturday at 1 p.m., we will have a meeting here of what we're calling the Members and Friends Mutual Support Group of CCUU and First Church. And First Church specifically wants to come here and tour our facilities. They're trying to make a decision about what they're going to do when they sell their building, which they're hoping will happen this spring. And one of the possibilities is that they will either rent from us or just go ahead and merge with us. So this is a really important meeting. And if you can come, please come. Again, it's at 1 p.m. on Saturday, March 2nd. Thank you.
We're delighted to welcome Elyce Picciotti. Close Picciotti. Okay. Actually, she's a friend of mine, but I always call her Elyce, so I never have to worry about the last name. But she's going to be doing a little bit. She's been a member for a long time. She's a past president. And she's finishing up her PhD at Tulane in aging studies. Okay? So, guess what makes her qualified to do the service she's going to be doing for us today? That's the next one. Okay, everybody ready to read along with the land acknowledgement? It's on the back of the program. Okay. We acknowledge and pay tribute to the original inhabitants of this land. The city of New Orleans is a continuation of the indigenous trade route on the Mississippi River, known for thousands of years as Bonacha. Tribes that have lived on this land include the Caddo, the Natchez, the Choctaw, Chittimata, Ohlone, the Tunica, Biloxi, Atacama, Ishak, among others. We recognize that as a result of broken treaties and involuntary removals, Native Americans were often forced from their lands. We remember and pay respect to the communities impacted by these actions. Native peoples have lived on this land since time immemorial, and the resilient voices of Native Americans remain an inseparable part of our local culture. With gratitude and honor, we acknowledge the indigenous nations that have lived and continue to thrive here.
It's Picciotti.
Don't forget that.
Not yet, almost. Those of you with a long enough memory may recall that one of my favorite poets is Shel Silverstein. This is from like 25 years ago. This is called The Folk Inside. Inside you, boy, there's an old man sleeping, dreaming, waiting for his chance. Inside you, girl, there's an old lady dozing, wanting to show you a slower dance. So keep on playing, keep on running, keep on jumping, till the day that those old folks down inside you wake up and come out and play.
It's time for our chalice lighting, and you will find the words to the chalice lighting here in your order of service. It's our custom to light a chalice, invoking hope and eternal truth to our worship. Please join us in singing the words of the chalice lighting.
Some of you probably know this poem by a different name. And it comes with prompts. When I am old, I shall wear purple and a red hat that doesn't go and doesn't suit me. And I shall spend my pension on brandy and summer gloves and satin sandals and say we've no money for butter. I shall sit down on the pavement when I'm tired and gobble up samples in shops and press alarm bells and run my stick along the public railings and make up for the sobriety of my youth. I shall go out in my slippers in the rain and pick flowers in other people's gardens and learn to spit. You can wear terrible shirts and grow more fat
and eat 3 pounds of sausages at a go, or only bread and a pickle for a week, and hoard pens and pencils and beer mats and things in boxes. But now we must have clothes that keep us dry and pay our rent and not swear in the street and set a good example for the children. We must have friends to dinner and read the papers. But maybe I ought to practice a little now, so people who know me are not too shocked and surprised when suddenly I am old and start to wear purple.
Now is our sacred time of joys and sorrows. If you are online, you may write your joys and sorrows in the comments section to be read aloud. In person, you may write them on one of the cards being passed out by our greeters, or feel to come up to the microphone and share your joys or sorrows. Please remain seated as we sing the hymn number, which is not in here. Which hymn number is it? Okay. No. Oh, this is the one. Sit down and listen. At least there's a song for you. That's what we want. This is about aging, but I'm not getting that senile.
So there's a little bit of a story behind this song. Several decades ago, I went to a little independent theater production in Chicago called Alice Still Doesn't Live Here Anymore. And it was a musical, and a gal got up to sing a song that left me in a puddle on the floor. And it was called These Lines. This is not that song. I've been looking for it ever since. But I think that the gal who wrote this one and the gal who wrote that one were channeling the same thing at the same moment because it works. So this is by Sherry Ulrich, and it is called These Lines. And I think I can make all of this work.
Was the time, or that I was a
gun violence, and still no ban on assault weapons. And you may have noticed it came up here, that was from Jim O'Neill. I agree 100%. Are there any others here? Oh, I see. Okay. So let's not that right in front. Prayers and healing energy for the victims of the Kansas City shooting. How many times will we allow this to happen? Michelle, I wish we had an answer. And Kathy Larner has the death of Elyce Picciotti is very distressing and sad. Such a brave man. Are there any others? Oh, I see Alan's here.
Francis Smith died a while back. I don't know if y'all know him. He and his family were long-term members of North Shore. We had a real nice memorial service for him last Thursday up in North Shore. It was standing room only, by the way. So it made me really envious that they were able to fill that little church. And also, we think we're very clever in the Unitarian Church. But Galileo, when he was in church, figured out how to calculate the length of a pendulum by looking at the light fixtures blowing in the breeze. And we have its T equals 2 pi times the square root of L over G, in case anybody really wants to know that. But he actually figured that out in his head while he was in a very boring church service back in the 17th century.
Okay, and now we're going to light 2 more candles. One for the joys still bubbling up, too new to share, and one for the sorrows that we cannot yet put into words. Know that we hold you in our hearts. Now our next reading is going to be an excerpt from This Chair Rocks.
Actually, no, it's not. Because I found a reading I liked better. I still highly recommend reading This Chair Rocks. It's a great book. At 3 o'clock in the morning last night, no. So this is from a book called Elderhood by Louis Aronson. An internet search of the term anti-aging yields over 46 million hits. The first of many items that come up are lists of tips, secrets, and routines, some recommended by doctors, beauty products and clinics that promise to help minimize the impact of aging on skin, body, and mind. The most frequently used words include prevent, reversing and corrective, followed by age spots, hormones, and wrinkles. Though younger looking, refreshed, lively, and robust are also popular. Much of this language is borrowed from science, smart marketing that lends legitimacy and an aura of truth, rigor, and objectivity to what is mostly cosmetics. It also reinforces overtly and insidiously the idea that aging, even though we are all doing it all of our lives, is bad, that old is ugly, and that evolution over a lifetime is evidence of failure. They offer the hope of an old age absent of all that leaves us feeling unattractive and all that we fear.
I'm beginning to remind myself of Tim Conway's Little Old Man. I'll be there in a minute. Okay. Community Church Unitarian Universalist is a self-sustaining congregation. Members and friends' generosity help us do the sacred work of bringing justice, spirituality, and compassion to our community and beyond. You can give online at ccuunola.org/stewardship or by text at 504-370-2659, text GIVE, and you can give in person this morning. All right. And while we're doing that, you may remain seated while we do the hymn, and this one is actually going to be done here. We're going to do Spirit of Life. It's hymn number 123.
So it's kind of fun getting my PhD at Tulane. Now I am, I'm almost certain, the oldest student on campus, which has just been fun. So why talk about the myths of aging or the realities of aging? Because it is going to happen to all of us, we hope. Baby boomers are retiring right now. The dreaded gray tsunami of old people is right now crashing upon our shores. Except that it's not a tsunami. A tsunami is a sudden, unexpected, devastating natural disaster. The wave of retiring baby boomers has long been anticipated and will dramatically swell the number of adults age 65 and older from 58 million in 2022 to a projected 94.7 million in 2060, or from 18 to 23% of the total population. That's a lot, but it's hardly a tidal wave. And what exactly do they mean by old? The definition of old age is notoriously unstable. As people age, they tend to move the goalposts that mark out the major life stages. 60 looks old to a teenager, and young to a centenarian. So why the sensationalist language? tidal wave? Because it sells. Sensationalist language divides society into two opposing groups, the needy old people and everybody else. And it traffics in politics of panic so successfully that all other narratives are drowned out. In reality, people are living longer and generally healthier lives, even considering the fact that living longer means increasing exposure to more things that can hurt us. The truth is that today, compared to any other time in history, we can cure a lot of things, and what we can't cure, we can often delay, mitigate, or manage for long periods of time without radically disrupting daily lives. But that's boring. Tsunamis are sexy. When Robert Butler coined the term ageism in 1969, he defined it as a combination of prejudicial attitudes towards older people, old age, aging itself, discriminatory practices against elders, and institutional practices and policies that perpetuate the stereotypes about them. The term was quickly adopted by the media and added to the Oxford English Dictionary. Almost half a century later, it's barely made inroads into the public consciousness, not to mention provoked any kind of an outcry. Paradoxically, no one wants to die young, and no one wants to get old. How does that work? It is true that science, medicine, and technology have leapfrogged culture, and society is struggling to catch up, and that humans are notoriously slow to reframe perception and behavior. Sociologists call that a structural lag. It happens when elements of a social system change at different rates to get out of sync. It's the reason why so many of our attitudes towards old age are contradictory or irrational in the face of facts. We have never lived this long before, and there have never been so many of us over the age of 65. Denial will not help us address this lag. Honesty, acceptance, exercise of loving kindness just might. It is time and past time to get the message across that old age is the prize, not the penalty. The myths of aging arise from unchallenged assumptions that members of the group are all the same. Look around the room, we are not. And that sameness is bad, alien, ugly, pitiful, mean, or to be feared. These stereotypes are easily and often unconsciously absorbed into our ways of thinking, informing not only our opinions of them, but also of ourselves. Myths can do real harm. So there are lots of them. These are my top 12, except with one exception. I'm mostly steering clear of the financial myths, because those would take too long to explain. Social Security is not going to go bankrupt. So, myth. Old age is a consistently satisfying bookend to a shapely arc of life, a time for getting things in order. The reality is that old people are just as vulnerable to disorder, happenstance, caprice, and bad luck as anybody else. Grasping for closure might be the goal of fiction. It's not necessarily the lived experience of old age. 2, this is a combo. People die of old age, and to be old is to be sick. Old age is not a disease. Nobody dies from it. A characteristic of biological aging is the relaxing of the DNA protein molecule, which exposes different gene sequences as we age. This is why your hair turns white, or hair starts growing other places that it never used to. Relaxing that DNA protein creates new vulnerabilities. We are experiencing more illnesses today because we never used to live long enough for them to develop. But we're also managing them better. People learn to live with chronic illness. 84%, and this was a recent NIH report, 84% of 65 to 74-year-olds report being in excellent, very good, or good overall health. So what is sick? If somebody asked me on the street whether or not I was in relatively good health, I would probably say yes. I have cancer, but I'm not sick. So how does that factor into the old are sick? Myth. The horse is out of the barn, so there's no point in stopping bad habits now. People always try and get away with that one, don't they? So there's a phrase that I like a lot: the best time to start doing things that are good for yourself is when you're very young. The second best time is right now. And the fact of the matter is that adopting healthy lifestyles can have an almost immediate positive effect. Myth. It's all in the genes. In reality, only about 30% of dementia risk is genetically determined. 70% is lifestyle choices. 1 in 3 cases of dementia may be preventable. Healthy habits play greater roles in how we age than our DNA. Healthy lifestyles, healthy hearing, music training from an early age, all of those can delay or potentially mitigate Alzheimer's and dementia. Myth. Older adults are fragile and should avoid exercise. Any takers? Be sensible. Exercise is always good, but ease into it. Think creatively. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Park far away from the grocery store so you actually have to walk to your car. Do some gardening. Besides helping to slow cognitive decline, low-impact workouts build strength, flexibility, and balance, all of which are excellent for preventing falls, which is a disaster in old age. Inactivity is, frankly, more often to blame than aging for losing the ability to do things. Myth. Seniors don't have much use for a social life. They're always depressed and grumpy. No. Sometimes isolation is imposed, which will generally lead to depression. Sometimes dementia acts like depression or frustration. You need to work within the limitations rather than fighting them. Generally, happiness goes up in our later years. We have less to worry about. We're less concerned about how the world is going to impact us or how we are going to impact the world. Older folk generally enjoy better mental health than the young and the middle-aged. Recognition of the things that you cannot impact or that you sounds a lot like the serenity prayer, right? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. That is what you need to do when you are old. Which could start, I don't know, at the age of 10. We're all aging from the moment we're born. I still had trouble adjusting to the fact that I'm 65. Myth. The lights may be on, but the voltage is low. AKA, seniors don't really care about sex. Bless their hearts. Also giving the lie to that is that the rate of STDs in assisted living facilities and senior communities is going through the roof. Myth. Most seniors are going to wind up in a nursing home. Take a guess. How many? What percentage?
20.
3. And about 2% live in assisted living facilities, per the NIH. It's a good idea to opt for a decision like that sooner rather than later. The operative word is choice. It's better if you make it than if somebody makes it for you. But this idea that we're all going to wind up in facilities, so it's just not true. 3/4 of the oldest old, that's a real expression, oldest old, and that's people who are 85 and older. 3/4 live independently, without any personal assistance. For those of you who know Esther Posey, who is now 101, and still living on her own, still wearing high heels. She did sell the motorcycle.
Ooh.
Myth: seniors should give up driving. Age is the wrong metric. You do things that you are capable of doing, and when you are not capable of doing them, you stop. 1 in 6 drivers is over the age of 65, and drivers between the ages of 60 and 79 have lower crash rates than 20 to 29-year-olds. It's just the wrong metric. Myth: you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Ta-da! Myth: this is a big one. The elderly do not pull their own weight. In fact, over 19% of those over 65 are still working, still in the workforce. 15% provide unpaid caregiver services valued at $192 billion in 2022. Collectively, seniors gave 3 billion volunteer hours in 2015 for a total of $77 billion in value, and seniors are starting businesses. Turns out, older entrepreneurs are 70% successful, and younger entrepreneurs are only 28% successful. There's something about learning from experience.
Amen.
And the other thing that has value for the rest of the world and what seniors can do is that seniors have the time to appreciate what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is running around trying to keep a roof over their head, or keep shoes on the kids, or get the groceries. And performance needs an audience. Seniors should consider it their job. Go out and be the audience. Go to the school plays, go to the band concerts. Stop spitting at the mic. Take your hearing aids out if it's terrible, but go. So, and this last one, myth: cognitively impaired seniors have nothing important to say. My father's connection to reality became increasingly quixotic towards the end of his life. The last time I saw him, by a happy accident, he and I were locked out of his apartment for a couple of hours with no way to contact or be contacted by anyone, and little choice but to wait for my brother to return with keys. That moment of found time turned out to be an incredible gift. It was a beautiful Florida afternoon. Dad was in no physical distress, so we sat on his front steps and waited, me on the step behind him, with my arms and legs wrapped around him, gazing at the park behind his building. Dad gestured to the trees and began describing them as they looked when covered with snow. It never snowed where he lived, ever. For the next several hours, through the fog of dementia, my father's words painted an intricate, first-person, lived-in picture of a life he did not live, with vivid descriptions of horrendous experiences that he absolutely remembered and which I absolutely knew were phantasms. He told me about an airport hangar full of corpses and open coffins, about a fire at his brother's industrial plant that killed family members, about a fatal collision that took the life of dozens of his friends. He somehow felt guilty for the death of everyone he had ever known. None of it actually happened. In that odd moment, with nothing to distract me, I realized that my father was not idly rambling, and also that the details of the stories he was telling me were irrelevant. It was like catching a distant sound that becomes clearer as it grabs more and more of your attention. My father was releasing sincere, deep remorse that he'd been carrying for many decades. He just couldn't remember exactly what it was that he felt so guilty about. So his imagination stepped in classically Mediterranean melodramatic style. If I had listened only to the words, I too would have dismissed the stories as the imaginings of senility. Instead, I heard and acknowledged his remorse, his agonized apology, and his love. In that same space, still wrapped around him and without words, I was able to convey that I'd heard and accepted his testimony, and I could feel him relax into my forgiveness. In our efforts to prolong youth, are we dismissing the value of advanced years? Are we so frustrated with the time and expense of caring for our elderly that we dehumanize them? When the ability to communicate deteriorates or simply changes, does that mean seniors have nothing more to say? I don't think so. My father certainly had things he needed to say to me. My father certainly had things he needed to say to me. For a myriad of cultural and sociological reasons, they were not things he could say while he was in full command of his senses. In his prime, he had automatic breakers that blocked his ability to acknowledge certain kinds of emotions. Those breakers had to fail before his true feelings could escape. That moment with my dad was a watershed for me. It taught me to listen with more than my ears and to speak with more than my mouth. In that moment, I related with the man, not with his illness, and it was profound. And it made me ask, what else are we missing because we forget or just don't know how to listen? Dementia, frailty, disability, they're all the nightmares of old age, and of course, every effort should and is being made to minimize the suffering they engender. But they are only conditions. When we allow those conditions to define age, we discount the lives that have and are yet being lived. A 2016 World Health Organization survey of 83,000 people in 57 countries found that the highest income countries had the lowest level of respect for their elders. Aging stereotypes in Western cultures are almost invariably negative. Older people are always sick, or frail, or slow, or impaired, or silly, or somehow diminished. The pervasiveness of negative aging stereotypes in our culture affects older adults' self-perception, as well as their cognitive and physical performance and recovery from disease. Conversely, in cultures that traditionally value older people and appreciate the perspective they bring, many more people are living well into their 90s and hundreds with little physical or mental deterioration. It is all in the attitude. When people consciously change their negative beliefs, they tend to live an average of 7.5 years longer, and they live healthier lives. Some studies indicate that reversing negative beliefs can actually reverse cognitive decline and improve memory function. So yeah, fewer stereotypes means less aging and less dementia. Old age is not a disease begging for a cure or a shameful disfigurement to be disguised at all costs. It is a triumph to be celebrated. We position elder care as a physical, financial, and emotional burden. Inherent in that attitude is the idea that olding happens to somebody else. It is past time for us to come to grips with the positive and negative realities of an aging population. To paraphrase the 1970s comic strip, Pogo, beware the elderly, for they is us. So this is called Clearing the Way by Alora Knight. I have waited quite a long time to get old, so I think I should try to enjoy it. And I can't turn it in for a refund, and I surely don't want to destroy it. They tell me that life is a one-way street, as if I'm too dumb to know, and I might as well keep moving on forward. There's not much choice where to go. I would like to lighten the luggage I've accumulated over the years. I'd be smart to release all the memories that brought about heartache and tears. That would make living much better. Free up space that can then be filled with appreciation for the good things in life, with the promise that then I could build a future that lives for the moment, with little concern for the past. My time would be filled with contentment, no matter how long it will last. So now I'm ready for the rest of the trip. I foresee no problems ahead. I'll make each day be a worthwhile event, with no regrets for the life I have led.
Now, I don't want anybody to be frightened. We're not taking up another offering. Just got a little bit out of order there, the pages here and the pages here, so. We will, however, be singing a hymn. So you may stand if you're willing and able. We're going to do number 311, Let It Be with dance. We extinguish the chalice here, that it might go gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again.
closing words are from the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, the truth of growing older. The truth of growing older cannot be described, only experienced. We are unaware of becoming sages. We just know that we are at peace. We are unaware of becoming wise. We just know that we are content. We are unaware of being generous. We just enjoy giving ourselves away. May your coming years be filled with all the blessings of the sage. May you live your years with peace and joy. May you die content and happy, knowing all is well, that it has always been so, and always will. And you've got one more hymn. So we're going to sing hymn number 102, We the Heirs of Many Ages, to close. And then please remember that there's coffee next door. Please stick around after the service.